have a unique relationship with haunted houses. Not real ones, mind you. I wouldn't go into one of those if you paid me, but those little spooky experiences that pop up around October. I've always been kind of annoyed by them. 5 to 10 minute experiences that you have to stand around for 3 hours in a line to get into? No, not for me. I was once, however, asked to do a fun little behind the scenes video for the cast and crew of a local haunt. It wasn't anything special, small interviews, montages, live reactions, etc., things like that. My better half, though, has actively taken part in her local haunted house multiple times, as does other members of her family. She even returns home to attend it whenever she can. I wish I could say I love haunted house movies, though, but I'm also pretty split on that. I mean, the Haunted Mansion is a masterpiece of cinema, but the houses that October built was a fucking bait and switch that I've railed against since I've seen it and will rail against as long as I live. It's with this pretty split opinion that I began to watch the 2019 movie Haunt. The story of basically every horror movie ever. A bunch of stupid college kids get drunk, stumble across a haunted house that nobody knows about, and end up in a horrifying experience. There's nothing new under the sun, right? It's all about how you tell the story in this day and age, and I can say that while this movie is no great challenge to the form or anything like that, it has a neat little twist to it that I want to get into. With that said, I'm going to try once again really hard to not use Philip DeFranco's catchphrase, and we'll get started. So like I said, the beginning is your generic cookie-cutter story. You have 4 college roommates, the main one being Harper, who's an antisocial loner who's being stalked and abused by her alcoholic redneck boyfriend. But she's convinced to attend a party where she meets a guy who's just as antisocial as she is, and they start to hit it off when the asshole of the story shows up and laments the suckery of the party. Despite the fact that she's almost completely certain that her abusive boyfriend is following her, they manage to convince her to make their way to an extreme haunted house. It's here that the group make first contact with a large, scary fucking man dressed as a clown. He performs a simple magic trick to hand them the key to their liability waivers, and after a moment's hesitation, they're off. It's a pretty generic setting, abandoned warehouse and all that, until they come across a witch's den where the group watches as a girl is branded just live in front of them. Now, I usually avoid editorializing during the recap, but I want to give an amazing shout out to the volunteer actors of haunted houses, especially people who play the victims. They put a lot of effort into their job, and they are volunteers, so their only real thanks are usually your screams and awkward laughter. Back in the movie though, the group comes across a maze with a split path of safe and not safe. So, of course, they split the group. The quote-unquote safe group pass through an elaborate spiderweb cave and come across a set of coffins that have a hidden door that only opens once you're enclosed inside. While 2 of them seem to make it through completely unscathed, the third is covered in what looks to be live spiders, which she's deathly afraid of, but is then released and they find themselves staring at a dark tunnel. Now, while the other group comes across a series of magic 2-way mirrors, the first pair is making their way through that crawl space labyrinth, where Harper sees someone but doesn't know who it could be, and Mallory, their third member, just straight disappears. The unsafe group, meanwhile, have come across their first real scare in the form of a 3 holes game. They have to reach their arms into each hole and guess the body part that they're touching. It turns out to be a variation of the old children's game where you hand around bowls of spaghetti, unpeeled grapes, and things like that, and tell a story about how they're touching witches' brains and unpeeled eyes and so on and all that. When one of them loses a ring in the hole and goes reaching around for it though, they are attacked by something that makes a series of fine cuts on their arms. Once this happens though, we cut back to the first group who are still looking for Mallory. One of them gets a little frisky with one of the actors. This is one of the things you're never supposed to do in a haunted house. They do keep going and eventually meet up with the others, where they watch the witch from the entrance kill their formerly missing former friend. It's here that the group decide to nope the fuck out of this place and make for an emergency exit. When Nathan decides to go on ahead and look for an exit by himself, he comes across an extremely creepy mannequin room and surprisingly finds someone who actually wants to help them. It's almost weird how, even being as helpful as he is, the man in a mask and the guy's apprehensive demeanor towards him still makes him kind of disturbing to look at in moments of silence. When that standoffishness does eventually become aggressive due to fear, Mitch, the employee, becomes much less forthcoming with his help, and they are forced to make their way back through the tunnel maze. Once Evan and Mitch make their way through the maze, he does signal for the next one, but then seals the exit, trapping Nathan inside. Bailey is forced into the crawlspace maze behind Nathan when a devil breaks into the room and kills one of them with a pitchfork. Harper, meanwhile, flees further into the haunt using Mitch's keys in order to lock the door. Nathan somehow finds himself in a back room and looks really weird without his hat. Like, I had to re-watch this scene a few times because I didn't know who this character was just seeing his face and hair. As Harper has a face-off with the devil, we have the reveal that made me want to watch this movie. And this is the moment, my dear friend and viewer, that you should close this video and go watch the movie if you've got an interest in it. Because this is the twist, the kind of neat reveal that I was talking about at the beginning. All of the members of the haunt, under their masks, have tattoos, piercing, other add-ons that resemble the mask that they're wearing. The devil makes a comment that Harper has a beautiful mask, but they want to know who she really is underneath. Kind of just stating their whole ideology with this whole project. Outside, meanwhile, Mitch asks Evan if he still wants to see his face, claiming it's a work in progress, but he thinks that Evan will like it. Moments later, he kills Evan with a hammer and begins to pull his face open. Nathan, meanwhile, I need to stop using that word, makes his way to the other side of the Guess the Body Part attraction and sees that it was razor blades that had been used on Bailey's arm. As Harper is forced to make her way through the haunt in the dark, she comes across a board with nails in the floor. I fucking hate this scene more than anything else in this movie because they keep showing how close her foot is to the nails and it skeeves me out, man. Nathan does eventually run into Mitch and manage to message Harper's abusive boyfriend their location, while Harper finally does step on the nails, but I don't want to watch that, so we're gonna move farther along. Harper is forced to flee across the room on her hands and knees, only to find the floor covered in that weird sticky shit that they used to kill rats, and it peels the flesh off of her hand. I'm not a fan of torture or realistic gore. I use these movies to enjoy darkness safely while not actually watching people suffer. Harper makes her way through a kind of escape room where she has to solve a few puzzles at the end of the haunt, where she finds a key to leave. She's forced to hide from the devil though, which prompts a flashback of her dad murdering her mom, and uses this as a motivator to stab her assailant in the eye and activate the final door. The door has a shotgun behind it that goes off at regular intervals, which Harper uses to finally defeat the devil. The loss of this employee forces the haunt to reveal and release the person I call the Reaper, a large, ominous figure cloaked in black with a spiky skull mask and his own theme music. Harper does get the drop on him though, only to find that it was actually Bailey, bound, gagged, and sent in the maze to die. The abusive boyfriend finally arrives to save the day. I'm getting real mixed messages about how I'm supposed to feel about this character. Oh, no, never mind. He's killed almost instantly. That was a weird and pointless side story. Cool death though. Nathan returns to save Harper from the chainsaw maniac before running afoul Mitch, who tries to kill him with a hammer the same manner that he killed Evan, but is killed himself. They find someone who actually does want to help them, not being one of the masked beings, but he's killed and they're momentarily sidetracked by the witch. As Big Papa Giggle sets fire to the haunt, Nathan has a showdown with another one of the cast members and really just knocks it out of the park. As they both escape, Harper returns home to find her mom alive and well, making me very confused about her flashback until the clown appears in their home and it's revealed that she's been dreaming. Father Honks does in fact know where Harper lives though, and arrives to pay her and her family a visit, only to find the house booby-trapped with the same traps that they used at the haunt and a very pissed off Harper.
Let's take off your mask.
This movie, let me tell you something, this movie, I genuinely love this movie. While its setup and all-around execution are pretty generic, it's the final act that I really enjoy. It's the killer's designs and all their facial deformities, tattoos and piercings, and even the changes to their voices when they talk. I also can't explain why, but I genuinely pulled for Harper and Nathan to make it through. Did I connect and empathize with them as somewhat of an antisocial person? Maybe. Maybe I was really happy to just see characters use their brains for once. Harper realizes that the shotgun is on its timer and uses that. She also uses the shotgun ammo in order to defeat the chainsaw wielder. She uses a sledgehammer to drive a machete even farther into a wall to pin one of the haunt employees momentarily so they can escape. And together they use a great teamwork attack to put an end to the witch. I was also genuinely happy that they both escaped, and I was sitting there expecting that jump scare ending, a setup for a sequel or a franchise, something to really put a bow on it, you know? But to give the survivors their definitive victory, make it so that they win decisively, just put it over the top for me. This is going to be a hard thumbs up for me, especially if you're looking for a good time since Halloween is approaching. Now, that's going to do it for me this week. I've got to get started getting ready for November, which already includes a trip across the pond and eventually a trip back in time. So I got to get started on that. So as always, whether you like, comment, and subscribe or not, you're still a friend to me.
I'm gonna go home and sleep with my wife.
Good night.
We got place to go, things to do, people to see, and we gotta get it done right away.